Hey guys, man, I look terrible. I just had headphones on, so my hair's all crazy. I just wanted to let you know the video that you're about to watch is actually a couple of videos that I had to splice together. Unfortunately, when I recorded the video that I actually liked my explanations the most, um, yeah, the sound cut out. In the middle of it, there is no sound. So I went ahead and I took one of my previous recordings, cut those specific parts out as to the steps that I was doing during the hanging drop technique, and put them into the third recording, which is the one that I actually really liked. Um, I hope this makes sense, and I hope the video will make sense as well.
One of the first things we need to do is we need to make sure that our cover slip and our depression slide are clean. So I've got my Kim wipe. I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol on it. Because when you do this, you're using Vaseline, it is oily. Your fingers are also oily. Not that you should be using your bare fingers, but because of that, we use alcohol so that hopefully we're getting any type of oil or contamination that would make it harder to view our slide off of our slide. All clean? All clean. I use this to heat my loop to sterilize it. So I've got my loop going to that cherry red color that was talked about in the first little movies that we had. Usually what I do personally is I wait for like 10 seconds for it to cool down a little bit. But right now, all I'm really putting on this is water because I want to put a water droplet here on the middle of my cover slip. So I can do exactly what was said in the bacterial smear video and run water down here until it gets caught in that loop. Now this is a pretty big droplet of water. I don't want anything this big. I want something very, very small. So I'm going to tap it and get this a bunch smaller. There's still water there. You can actually see it reflecting, but it's not as much. And I'm going to put it down in the center of my cover slip. Now you can see that little droplet of water right there in the center. I'm going to heat my loop again. And I could go all the way up and heat the whole thing. And let's say for the sake of time, I did. So again, because it was just red hot, I'm going to give it like 10 seconds. If you don't, you will know automatically if it is still steaming hot, because when you put it up against the auger, hang on, let me actually demonstrate this for you. You're going to hear it. Listen. You hear that sizzle? That sizzle means that this was too hot and literally you just fried whatever you touched. Heat it up. Let it cool. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For me personally, usually what I'll do to make sure that I'm not in danger of burning anything, I'll kind of put it to the side and touch. If I don't hear a sizzle, then I know I'm good. Put a little bit of bacteria on your loop. You take it to your little circle and you swirl it around a little. You want your bacteria to be in that little water droplet. Now remember, I just put bacteria onto this loop, right? So I've got to heat it again. Make sure that the bacteria that I picked up is not going to stay on this inoculation loop. I've just flamed and cooled this. There's no reason for this to be on anymore. you turn it off. If you've got a Bunsen burner at a school that actually has a gas line, you would turn the gas line off. When we talked about this before, I said that I'm going to put Vaseline around this divot, around the circle, so that it becomes the super glue that will hold this cover slip in place. Got my Vaseline, I've got a toothpick, I've got my depression slide. We're going to open this up. I'm going to take some Vaseline out with the toothpick. Okay, so got Vaseline on the end of this toothpick. And we are going to start putting it around the divot in the slide. You don't really need much because that cover slip isn't all that big or heavy. But having this toothpick makes it a bit easier to kind of get it to spread out like you're spreading mayonnaise on a sandwich. Now you should be able to see that there is Vaseline all around that divot. So here's my cover slip, right? And I want that drop to be within that circle. Okay, so my divot is on this side. I need to invert this so that it's facing the water droplet. So I am going to line it up so that, let me see if I can get this a little clearer, so that that water droplet is right in the center of that circle. And like I said, that's where the Vaseline and divot are. I'm flipping it over. Now I'm just going to drop it. When I do that, it glues the cover slip onto my divoted slide. The Vaseline is basically going to be super glue. Technically now you should be able to observe any type of mobile bacteria that might be here. I will try to either get a recording of this from YouTube so you can see what it looks like, or when we actually do this experiment, I will actually record it from my phone then. That is the hanging drop technique, where we take advantage of the divot that is in this slide, the depression slide, to suspend a droplet of water with living bacteria on it so that we can watch them wiggle and squiggle around. It's actually really a cool technique. I do wish that we still had face-to-face classes sometimes, because I think that this is actually one of our coolest labs, because you can actually see them swimming all over the place, which is extremely neat.